Bienvenido.
Welcome to this Fundación Telefónica space. We like to say that dreams come true here. Welcome to this day, which is so special to us. We're opening this exhibition. We've dedicated a lot of effort, a lot of love, a lot of expectations, so we can offer you our best. But we didn't want to begin without mentioning César Alierta, our president for many years in Telefónica and Fundación Telefónica, who left us a few weeks ago. His vision, his strategy, his empathy, his good heart were a reference for many of us in Telefónica, and we wanted to begin this event today honoring his name and his legacy, which is so important for us, for everybody in Telefónica. I would also like to mention that this is a very special year for all those of us here in Telefónica and our family. In just 2 months we will be turning 100 years. It will be the dream of many generations before us, many people who dreamt of a future that is our present now. For us, it is a very special year, a year in which Fundación Telefónica is also turning 25 years old. So many important events can only mean that many good things are to come. Our mission is to make our technology, the technology around us, more humane. That's part of our DNA. That's how we understand the contribution of a foundation that wants to fill the digital gap that leave people behind. We want to help people come back on track. We want to make sure that everybody will be part of digital inclusion. This is the first exhibition in this 100 years celebration. It will be the beginning of a very special year for all of us.
That have contributed to this exhibition. We really appreciate it. We honor your talent, we honor your effort, and we honor you being here. It is for us such a big pleasure, and thank you very much for becoming part of the Telefónica's Foundation family. En este día, en este lugar y en este momento abrimos una.
And now we are opening these windows to the future, the same way that it was opened back in the days when the founders created Telefónica. We want to honor their legacy, and we want for the people who will come after us to honor that legacy as well. Thank you from our heart for being here today. Thank you to all the Telefónica family for being part of this history. And please feel at home, because this is Fundación Telefónica, your home. Thank you very much.
Bueno, pues muchísimas gracias.
Thank you very much. Also on my behalf, like Luis was saying, it's especially exciting for us to be here opening this exhibition. One of the reasons for this is that Luis, our new general director, is here with us for this first event, opening an exhibition here in this venue. And well, it's this celebration, but it's a very special moment for us because of this, so I wanted to thank him and share this fact with you all. Luis already introduced the exhibition within the framework of our strategy. I wanted to tell you also that this exhibition is part of a trilogy that we started in 2021 with an exhibition called The Great Imagination, Stories of the Future. I hope that many of you already visited it as well. Then we had another one about Liam Young's work, Building Worlds. And we closed this trilogy with this last exhibition, Ventanas al Futuro. And all these three projects are part of our effort to trying and build possible future scenarios from technology. But these future scenarios from technology, like Luis was saying, are visions that want to have people in the center as a focus. So we try to talk about how we can use technology to project different possible futures for us and for the others. This is going to be the first activity in this 100 years celebration, but it's not going to be the last one, of course. This year, our foundation is going to be working in this celebration all the time. We will have 2 other temporary exhibitions, and we will also share special news for us, which is the renovation of the permanent exhibition, the telecommunication history that we have on the second floor. You will see that we're working on it right now if you go to the second floor, and it will be fully renovated for the celebration. I encourage you to visit it from April, May. With all our projects, we try to focus and to make our best to work about inclusion with different tools. This year we started a cycle of lectures. We called it Imagina el futuro que queremos, imagine the future we would love to have. And this will be another line we'll be working on together with the exhibitions. We've already celebrated some of the sessions, and we will have new ones very soon with different thinkers, scientists, so they can all help us debate and imagine all those possible futures. So you can have an idea. We've had so far people like Michael Sandel, Michael Ignatieff, Irene Vallejo, Juan Luis Arzuaga, José María Lasalle, or Mariano Sigman. With this exhibition, we've also programmed different mediation activities, visits, workshops, etc. And of course, we will have additional material that you all also can find online on our site. And when talking about inclusion, I wanted to highlight projects that will be linked to the exhibition, like Luis was saying, to make sure that we are sharing knowledge and culture in a way that is accessible to all. For example, we will have visits that we will organize together with the digital workshops for the elder. We will also link these with other programs of the space. Power Parents, a program where we accompany families with children with autistic disorders. Or also all the other visits that we organize for vulnerable collectivities with the platform Acerca Cultura. We are partners of that platform, and with that platform we try to reach all these groups of people. And I don't want to take much more of your time. Now we're going to share a dialogue so we can focus a little bit more on the exhibition. Before that, I wanted to thank all the team who made possible this exhibition. María Brancós, our chief exhibition organizer. Also the coordinators, in this case, María Ornedo, Marta Banac, and of course, all the staff in the cultural department and in the whole foundation. They are the ones who make this project possible. And of course, all the artists and the studios that participated, that contributed with the exhibition.
Y nada más.
And that will be all. Now we can move to the next part. Maria will be moderating this dialogue with someone. I forgot to mention the person who will be having this dialogue with Maria, Stef Silva from Invisible, the studio that coordinated. I had forgotten to mention her. It's a good thing now I'm doing it. She helped us with coordinating all this exhibition. So I really want to thank her. And that's it. Now the floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Bueno, muchísimas gracias.
Thank you very much. For those of you who follow us, what we want to do with this dialogue is, well, we want to help you navigate the exhibition. We cannot talk to you once you are visiting the exhibition, so we want to give you some keys to understand the content. It'll be around 30 minutes. We couldn't have all the artists here on the stage because we are lucky that we have many of them here today. We have them here on this side of the stage, but they are here, so we will tell you a little bit about their pieces, and I hope they can participate as well. As Pablo was saying, we are closing some kind of trilogy, almost like a Star Wars trilogy. I hope that you were also waiting in excitement for this new edition. And I think it's important to say that this exhibition, Historias del Futuro, one of the previous ones, was working on how we were imagining future throughout history. Then we had the Liam Young exhibition. It was a profound research. You also are familiar with his work, how he was creating images from data and scientific research. And I think that what's different about this third project, is that we are doing it from a fiction space, from the imagination. And I think that sometimes imagination is as important or even more important than analysis in a world with such complex crises like we have today. When you think outside the box, I think creativity, I think it's essential. That's why we have the artists that participated in this project, and they guided us through a fascinating plays. They helped us focus from creativity, from emotion, always with technology as a key element. We will see that now. It's part of their creation process and part of the stories that they share. So, well, thank you very much for this journey. And if you want, maybe we can tell a little bit about the framework within which we've been working. As Pablo was saying, you are part of Invisible, Future Lab. I think you refer to it as a Future Lab. You prepare prospective studies, and you've helped us in establishing the theoretical framework for each of these pieces, for each of these works. I wanted to ask you something. Well, this is crowded, so it's obvious that we all have the perception that most people is interested about the future, right? It's like, do we have a lot of apocalyptic images, dystopic images, but our idea here was also to focus on the future with an optimistic point of view. And for me, there's an author who's essential, a myth already in future study, Fred Pollack. And I think that he talks not only about how future images are crystallized expectations, but he also tells us that we create the images, but images also create us or make us how we are. So that's probably why the way we imagine the future is what in the end is going to happen in a way. So, and with these as our reference, I would like to begin our conversation. Yes, that's true. And in relation to what Fred Pollack says, he has some archetypes in his studies, is the details of those stories, those images that have been generated. And we can see how individuals tend to repeat those catastrophes, or their shared common points also when we see utopies throughout history, how they repeat. And we can see that in the fiction world, in literature, but that brings me back to something that's very beautiful in Liam Young's work. There are many things that we can assume as certain, as true, and there are things that are happening and that will get to the future, but provocation is also very important, because otherwise we would be perpetrating the same stories and believe that that's the only thing that can happen, and fall back and again on the same archetypes. And lately, I agree with you, there's been like an explosion about wanting to work with the future. We want to explore that concept methodologically and in organizations, and also at a personal level, because this is becoming a more participative process. I don't know, I forgot where I was going with this. Oh yes, it's very important to see that critical optimism. That's something that I've been listening to lately. Not thinking everything is possible and everything will happen and just let it flow and let's wait for what's going to happen. No, that critical aspect, we need to be responsible. We need to take responsibility, how we got here and where do we want to go, right? And I think that's very important. I think that we can also see that in the pieces, in the different works in the exhibition and also the prior ones in the trilogy. That critical optimism. We want to know how we got here, and we want to build something that opens our horizons. We've also talked about a concept that is the futurizing future images, right? This comes from what you were talking about. That's why I'm asking you. I think with this exhibition we're also going along that same line. We want to go away from inherited stereotypes, and we want to think out of the box. I don't know how you saw the exhibition, and I don't know if you think that we achieved this. Yes, there are some of the works throughout the process. We were asking the artists what what timeline do we have here, or horizon? Because sometimes it gives you goosebumps because it's future situations, but it's also sometimes alternative present possibilities, right? In many of them, even if you know that it's a future technology, it's something that we could have with us nowadays here already in the present. So sometimes in those future images we have that alternative possibility for the present, and that's very interesting to see in some of the pieces, some of the works. Yes, and to finish, before we focus on each of the works, there's a term, I think it's Casey Robinson's, I think it's very interesting, which is imagination infrastructures, talking about how to generate those channels, to generate that collective imagination, which is so important. I think that art and museums are fully included in these imagination structures, but I wanted to ask you to tell us a little bit about this. Yes, there's a very beautiful intersection between future thinking and art or culture, because obviously when we use the future for a guide for our vision for a country, even for an organization or a team, you need some elements. You need data, you need infrastructures that have to be very technical, very rigorous. But there's also another part. You need, for the people who are thinking to let it flow, because you need that feeling in your stomach. You need to be thinking whether you would like to live in that place that you're imagining, because otherwise for us or for next generations it will be a too rational environment. We need to feel that future, and art has that as a baseline. So I think that art does not understand about professions, about technicalities, about roles, about it's a wide space where you can let yourself flow, right? And that's why we are seeing now that intersection. And in this case, these are works, installations, video art pieces, but we also work with objects, with physical recreations where you enter, where you access those future images. Maybe I'm talking too much, but it's like some kind of future archaeology. It's like if we could, thanks to the artists, if we could have been able to travel to the future and bring some pieces, some little things like in archaeology, right? You take a little bone, a fossil, or a stone, and with that we can reflect about how people were living back then. So it's a reflection about how we were in the past, thanks to these elements, to these pieces, and with these now we can reflect about how we could get there to that future, how will we be? How will society be in that future that we are imagining? So we can do it with those elements, those objects. It's open to everybody, so anybody can just feel how it will be. And we feel very grateful, and myself personally, we have these futures, these images. Anybody in the city can come and see those images and reflect also about the present, about the technology around us, the social, economical, political aspects, even personal or familiar aspects, like we see in many of the works. That's very beautiful. Yes, like you were saying, it's the possibility to tell stories from emotions. We've been talking about that, how our brain is set or based on the stories that we've heard. And I think that most of the things we're going to see upstairs are stories told from emotions and from feelings and from senses, and I think that's beautiful to be able to flow with that journey. I don't know if you can play the presentation. We're going to... Can you please manage the slides for me? If you can please go to the next one. Okay, this is the first work we're going to see in the exhibition. We are just seeing an image for each work, so we don't spoil any of the... These are Xavi and Dani are the artists. They're here, and you've participated, right? You've collaborated quite closely with them. I'll give you just a few touches because I want you to discover them yourselves once we go upstairs. I think this work has a very special tension between the specific and the abstract. There are some shapes. We don't know exactly what they are. They could be future gadgets, but you don't get the full meaning. The visitor is the one who can rebuild from his or her imagination what is it that we're seeing. And I think it's a work where the process is especially interesting. Yes, that's what I was going to tell you. I think it's like science fiction stories. So they tell us that it's a co-creation process with technology and artificial intelligence. It's how it's made. It's the future scenario itself in this case. And when they tell you about it, it's really a co-creation, a real co-creation with the artificial intelligence. And they tell you about that empirical method they use for such a long period of time. And well, that's something that we saw in movies like Hair, a different focus, but it's like we've always expected to happen, and it's happening. I would also like to say that it's very impressive to see the artist's proposition here, because the work with artificial intelligence until now brought us quite uniform images, stereotypical images, but what we see here, we have, well, works that are completely different from each other. They are also different. We see that cooperation between human creativity and artificial intelligence, and so we're getting to a very interesting point here. This is a piece of digital craftsmanship in a way. They told us that when they started working with artificial intelligence, people thought that there was something fast, and it's not. They spent hours training the AI, and I don't know if guys, if you want to add anything. Well, it's been a quite empirical process, and that was the risk. And the piece itself, the installation, the overall view of the process was to welcome that technology and take a leap of faith into the void. We said, well, we're going to hand in a piece in a few months from now. We don't know where we're going, but we're going to put to work on it, and that was the way. That's what we got from the AI, and the feedback we got from you was also very interesting. It was very exciting to be able to close the project with Invisible, and at the end of the process we are offering something which I didn't know how it was going to be. We actually delivered the final result not long ago, and that was the leitmotif of our project. So we feel very grateful with the trust that we felt all the way from foundation. And well, I hope you will enjoy the installation when you see it now. Thank you very much. If we can go to the next one. This is another work from Infer Studio, collective, multidisciplinary collective. They have the artists have very different profiles. I think that's also essential for the nature of this work. They also work with this world building, building possible worlds with an amazing level of detail. And they research about the impact of technology in how it affects their relationships with human beings, with the world, also human beings with non-human beings. And well, there are many levels of narrative in this piece, but I think one of the most interesting things is the presence, the meaning of that presence in a world where virtual reality is a total hybrid with our physical reality. And they share a story where remote natural elements like this tree, for example, this Australian tree that we're seeing in this living room, its virtual reflection will be in our home. It's a tree that exists somewhere in Australia, but it has our virtual reflection in a domestic space. I think this brings us to that question of how to connect. Sometimes we have the feeling that technology or the speed of the technological world is disconnecting us, and what they are doing is they're exploring how these technologies, we always say that technology is not good or bad. I think that this exercise they're doing is, well, thinking about how those same technologies that we think that can disconnect us, they can help us connect. And they are wondering, what is the relationship we're going to establish with those trees, those whales that are so remote right now? They are far away from us, and thanks to that technology could be generating bonds with us. So they propose this Entangled Day, a new ritual where we celebrate the presence of those elements in our everyday life with a very beautiful text by Beth. You can download the text with a QR code. And I wanted to ask you, before we give the artists the floor, I wanted to ask you about this idea of how fictions can mobilize beliefs to create realities. I think we talk about hyperstition as opposed to superstition, and I think this is how this works, right? Yes, actually here you can see the magic of these kind of artifacts and this kind of creations. Without the pretext of this piece, maybe we wouldn't be wondering about the interference of technology and nature, for example. Only when you see that there's another possibility, which is what you see in these images, we see how technology is helping us and living the space alone. I'm not gonna say just alone, but it makes you wonder, how are we doing it nowadays? And those hyperstitions, like new fictions that are insistingly on our collective imagination, and we start thinking of them as realities, and we start working towards that objective, and then it becomes a reality. And I think that many people, and that's also one of the points of this exhibition. We think that technology needs to help us be more humane, and there are many examples of use. It can help us in getting the best possibilities. And also in this work, for me, it's striking how familiar it is. We have this home, this family space, and how familiar it actually feels when we see nature coming in these spaces. I don't know, it's something that is in our DNA. It's something that is actually a need that we have by nature. So we want to have it there, living the space it needs.
Ethan, Sarah, and Beth, I don't know if you want to add anything.
Sure, I will talk in English, porque no hablo mucho español. I can try, but it won't get very far. I just think you both explained the project so beautifully and our agenda so well, but maybe one thing that I'll add is something we felt very privileged to add to this exhibition was a chance to offer an alternative aesthetics of emerging reality technologies. Something we really like to do is to imagine how virtual reality technologies cannot remove us from our reality or replace our reality, but immerse us more deeply within it, and to make more visible realities that are real and are all around us, but are otherwise very difficult to perceive. So a technology that is slow, that is real time, that is persistent, that is enduring, that is highly physicalized, and enhances our experience of the physical world as opposed to remove us from it. Javi, you want to say anything?
And I guess it was just important for us to sort of carry through this piece this sort of twin attitude that I think we really sort of felt was important in this moment when we're sort of facing so many sort of crises in our imminent future, which is to sort of increase the degree to which we care and sort of attend to our environments and those environments that support our everyday lives, because it's certainly not a fiction that our like domestic lives have effects like far beyond what we can see. But at the same time to also create this increased attention with an attitude of sort of a reduction in sort of the way we tread and a degree to sort of step lightly. And I think that sort of parallel is something that we hope will come through in the work, but we'll leave more of that for upstairs.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Pues pasamos a la...
We move to the next work. We're going to, this is the order you're going to find the works in the exhibition. This is a Jim Monk piece. He's the only artist that couldn't be with us here today. He's an artist with very relevant pieces in research with new technologies, and this is the work we have. I need to read the title because it's almost like a doctoral thesis, just the title. Synapse Code, Patterns of a Digital Consciousness. And he works with this idea of consciousness, of perception, and of how technology and the digital environment can transform the human being conscience. There are many authors who are writing about these. I thought it was especially interesting, Herman Nerula's work with Virtual Society, where he talks about these digital borders and how those virtual spaces can be also spiritual spaces in a way. And I think that there is a tension between the human being and the machine with a very digital aesthetic, a very digital look, where we can see some kind of story about a woman. It's a very sensory experience. And I think I wanted to ask you, Esther, going beyond what the piece is telling us, it's just an experience, an artistic experience, just something to contemplate. But correct me if I'm wrong, we're coming from a very materialistic vision of the future. For many years, we've been thinking about the future thinking about how cars will be, how fridges will be. In Historias del Futuro, it was a section that we really liked because it was a clear example. We had some, a part of the exhibition, we had commercials of the 50s and the 60s of how fridges were going to be in the future. There were screens, buttons, we weren't going to be cooking anymore, but there always was there a woman cooking for her husband coming back from the office, right? So we were able to imagine the technological progress because some of the things that were there happened in the end, but the social scheme was totally outdated and traditional, no, in a way. And I think we're beginning to think about the future from different perspectives, from political points of view, spiritual point of view, social. And I wanted to tell you a little bit about this. Yes, I believe it's my feeling, like you were saying, it's a personal feeling. I think that we've been obsessed and we still care about what's going to happen in the future. And the key, and this is my personal opinion, is we need to focus about how to think about the future. So we need to consider our mental tools, and I insist, art has many tools to click on those mindsets and change maybe the values, change the collective imagination, change some perceptions. And this Jimang work is more something to contemplate, but it does play with that psychedelic effect. And what I like is that it doesn't try to represent the future. It's just like something like the minimum piece, which is the pixel in this case. That's why we understand that this is something based on technology. It's something that it's just suggesting, it's just letting you imagine with other codes which are not so rational, or it's not the way how we usually think of the future when we try to predict the future. And I think, well, we didn't say this, but none of the works in the exhibition try to be a prediction for the future. It's actually more of a provocation. But probably in this Jimang work, it's absolutely the freedom to think out of the box with a different mindset. Yes, and I also think that the aesthetic part of this image comes from technology, right? It's a technological response to this digital context. Yes, here you can really tell that it's a digital technology. Yes, we move to the next one. Life forms, I don't know if we can. Yes, life forms. This is the next one. Life Forms presents this piece, Orbital. It's a video game look. I was telling you before, all the pieces are so different from each other, and that's fascinating in this project, that idea of going away from future stereotypes. And I think we really achieved that. But they all turn around something that is always present in this, which is arriving to other worlds, to new worlds. But what's interesting is that they don't do it like we usually see, conquering the space. It's more of a collaboration with other planets, with a different vision, with an idea of artificial intelligence trying to help us find new forms of solar energy, for example, that make it possible to us to regenerate the planet Earth. And in this case, we have 3 levels: social, political, technological, like a part of that whole, right? Like a whole system. Yes, and it's like a story of care. Also, that's also my personal interpretation, but you have those stories that we've always had, where a human being arrives to another planet in the space because they feel that there's nothing left to do here, like a lost battle. But in this case, I think we are launching everything we want to test, to be able to care for what we have here. We want to know the consequences, what the consequences would be, the impact these would all have on the Earth. So this was the longer term scenario, right? And it's very beautiful to understand. It's also very beautiful how art is suggesting new futures. We are suggesting or that there's a new society that is thinking about a long-term plan. Yes, the piece starts in the year 2060, right? Yes, and it's a common vision of how we need to build something going towards that. And it makes us wonder, is this possible to have that common vision that we all share, that we there's something that we want to take care of?
One of the two members of Lifeforms, if you want to intervene.
Sure.
Thank you.
Hi everybody, I'm so happy to be here, and I want to thank Fundación Telefónica to inviting us and recognizing our work. And I want to point out that it's really interesting and important. I think we are at the crossroad, and I'm so happy that Telefónica has recognized this issue, and that we are pointing out that for now, usually we are like, there is like a unconscious idea that the future is something dystopic, and we are trying to figure out how to make a positive way and how to make a positive impact and think about future that's something that can be great and good. And with our project, we wanted to make like a symbolic symbol, like a circle that connects all the earth, and that will bring us all together in a unifying project, and remind us that the greater good is actually something that's sort of forgotten, and I think we should start to think about it. And yeah, I think that everybody is going to enjoy the show. Thank you.
Thank you, Lidia. Bueno, pues vamos una pantalla.
Now let's go back to the previous slide, please. This is Paul Trillo's work. He's a filmmaker, experimental filmmaker, and he's of course welcomed new technologies to renovate visual languages. In that collaboration with different digital media and with the AI. And here he brings a piece which is really touching, really poetic. And now we will tell you a little bit also about the process, the creation process, because I think it's very interesting with artificial intelligence as well. But this idea of the temporary, you were saying, because the piece is in between today and tomorrow, right before we go to bed. We have a series of people who are enunciating their wishes for their tomorrow. The backgrounds are created with artificial intelligence. They are a response. Each environment is a response of the AI to that wish, to that declaration of or statement of the different characters, but it's real characters. And I wanted to ask you about that temporary idea, because our future begins tomorrow. We tend to think of years ahead, but actually our future, those wishes for our future, the first step for them, it's tomorrow. Yes, this morning during the presentation, I really it brought me back to my reality. How when he said, well, tomorrow or the minute after you were talking right now, it's already your future, right? Sometimes there's the risk to think that, well, you have time to live some things for further ahead. We will work on that later. But when you realize that actually your future is also tomorrow, then you think seriously about the decisions you're making for the next day. And I think that with this piece, you really reflect about how you really need to make decisions about tomorrow, Saturday, and the day after that, right? And I think that's the provocation of this piece. And also the more personal aspect of this work, there's like that message for the individual, for your
So Paul is with us too.
Hi, very well said. Yeah, that is the core theme. Thank you for having me and speaking about the piece. But I wanted to think about the future in a way that was less abstract I think we have this tendency to think of the future as something very distant and even foreign to us, and we like to abstract the future, or we like to maybe fetishize the future as something that isn't now. And I think the future is always happening, and the past was the future at one point. And so I was very interested in this sort of making the future feel more immediate and more tangible. And so I wanted to play into an aesthetic of the future that felt more timeless, actually, than something that felt very, very far off. So you'll see a combination of things that maybe have tinges of sci-fi or tinges of future aesthetic, but also things that feel like prehistoric and also present day. And really, the reason for that is to create a sort of responsibility for the future, and a self-responsibility that and an ownership that that global warming, whatever it is not going to be solved by some future generation. It needs to be solved now. Everything starts with us, and so the future is more of a mindset than it is like a time or a place. And I think that may be, and you were hinting about it with a previous piece, but we used to think of the future as purely just technology, and thinking about it in social ways, thinking about it in the mind, like, and about progress and changing minds is more important than just focusing on the technology. So that's why I wanted to like reel it in a little bit and make it more of a personal piece that speaks about a future that is tomorrow, and what can I do tomorrow to change, and hopefully there's a universal truth in that as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Paul, and thanks for the piece and for touching us so deeply. Bueno, y finalmente.
And finally, we have Fuse. The Fuse work is the one that was not produced specifically for this exhibition. The rest pieces were created specifically for the exhibition, but we thought it was so relevant for what we wanted to tell that we wanted to include it as part of the show. Fuse is a collective from Italy, a interdisciplinary collective or group. It's something very interesting that we see in all these proposals. It's a different way to understand these projects, and it begins with research of two universities in California and Bologna. They created a database, a dream database, with many people describing dreams that they had, and in their case they are using artificial intelligence to identify patterns of words that are repeating in those dreams, in that dream database, and that artificial intelligence is generating images about those words. So in a way, what the AI is doing is generating an image of something that's so personal and so intangible as a dream. So I believe that it's the visual aspect is very powerful, but there are also some ethic aspects about the relation of the AI with our inner self. This morning, Filippo was saying something that I thought it was very relevant about the piece, which is those patterns that we see repeating in the dreams, they generate a feeling of connection among each other, a feeling of empathy. Many of us, we dream similar things. And I thought it was a key element of this piece. Filippo?
Adding something.
The main point with this installation is to create a collective experience that allow the audience to feel part of something that everyone share. Basically, dream is something that is an activity that we all do, is something that unites us, and yeah, in a way we had access to this huge database of dreams, and yeah, we tried to find a way to create connections within this database to stimulate a sense of empathy, as you just said. Yeah, it's really well said. I don't know, Mattia, maybe you want to add something?
Hi, hello to everyone. Yeah, just a few words. In general, what we do is try to understand and to explore how technology and innovation in general has an impact in how we perceive the world, how we perceive ourselves and the relation with the other people. And in this case, we wanted to apply machine learning to a very specific human experience. There is a question that arose in the past month, but that we have all in mind is what make us human. What is the difference between we as human and a machine? And this question will be even more complex in the future when with artificial intelligence, the machine will be able to do a lot of things that now we do. So it's an important question, and I think that to recover and to be conscious about what makes us human is really important and define our identity. So we hope that with our work also we helped people to explore this point of view and this relation with technology and with ourselves. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Creo que tenemos.
I think we need to close. We don't have much time. Esther, I don't know if you want to add something. No, it's just a feeling that I have after working in this project, which is that this is not only stories about technology, but without technology, these precise stories wouldn't exist. And so it's also, this show is like a provocation to make us wonder about many things, about where to go, how we are gonna get there. Why not? Why not being optimistic when we think about the next 100 years, since we are celebrating Telefónica's 100 years? Yes, it's funny that you're talking about inoculating optimism, because Walter Benjamin says that art inoculates experiences, and I think that these 6 windows to the future inoculate experience. As we were saying before, they do it in a world which is very complex, where we have very complex challenges, and sometimes we feel tempted to feel overwhelmed, and we have such a dystopic perspective. We need people like these artists who see things a different way, who think out of the box, who take us through different pathways. And so we hope that we achieve this with the exhibition, and that this exhibition is a reflection on future from optimism and from the different colors that you all provided. And I hope it'll be a fascinating journey for the audience. Thank you to all the artists, thank you to Esther, and of course also the team in Fundación Telefónica, and thank you to all the people who accompanied us in this project. We always say that it's teamwork and a lot of work of many people. It's amazing to see how many people we need to organize an exhibition like this, so thank you to each and one of them. And we talk about digital literacy, and basically this is what we're doing, and I think that imagination and creativity is a necessary part of that digital literacy. So I hope that this mission is accomplished, and so we can close the event. We have Maite Ledo, Secretary of State of Artificial Intelligence and Digitalization. Thank you to all of you. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for inviting me today. The exhibition is wonderful. Being here in this building, celebrating Telefónica's 100 years is a great opportunity, but really the exhibition was fascinating. Each of the works, they are unique. Each of them is different, and they show how technology helps us in our everyday life, how technology helps us connect. I thought that was amazing. And really, it also makes me think of how fast this AI thing is going. Probably we are all shocked about how fast this transformation is taking place and how the AI is in all different aspects of our everyday life. And I want to tell you about how we are dealing with AI and with digitalization. Because we are already seeing this. We see this in the images. We are almost touching it, but we also see it in the macroeconomics in our country. We're seeing the impact of digitalization. If we see how we are creating employment, since the pandemic, we've created employment at an 8% rate. But if I see what's happening in science, the rhythm is twice as fast. So we are creating more employment in science than in other sectors. If I analyze what's happening in telecommunications and computing science, the rhythm is 3 times as fast. So obviously we are changing the pattern towards this new world where we already have evidence of how our life is improving. When we incorporated ChatGPT in our life, well, we already have some exercises. Well, people using ChatGPT in some works, they are more productive. It reduces their time, their working time, or they are producing better quality work. So what are we doing to incorporate all these? Basically, what we're doing is a lot of money from the recovery plan. The challenge we have for a country like us is we need to use that money very well, as best as we can. So what are we trying to do? We are trying to invest in computing skills. Behind all these things, we have a lot of hours in computing science, and we need to have that training to be able to tackle that challenge. And also those computing skills, well, they need to be sustainable from the energy point of view. We are also working with data also here. A lot of images, and behind all these AI models, we have data. And in generative AI, well, it's like generating a whole new corpus. We have them. We have models in English, but we also, for a country like us in Spain, we have big bonds with Latin America, our companies, our administration. We need to have that corpus as well in Spanish, so we can develop products based on that. And then another important element, we've been focusing on research, but we need to go to these, to the usage, to art, to health, to the uses, the different examples of the use of AI in many different fields. It's absolutely amazing. In the public sector, there's still a lot of work to do to improve the relationship between citizens and the administration. For example, it's one of the other things that we want to work on. But we need to do all these focusing on the citizens. They need to be at the core of all these. So if we want to have an ethical use of the AI, that's why we are working in the digital rights chart. We are working on it in collaboration with Latin America, and there are important challenges in this sense. We need to be able to enjoy this art unbiased. We don't want the images to be manipulated. We need to have, for example, in the health system, we want these to help us with the diagnosis, but the decision-making process needs to be unbiased as well, and with that human component. So all these elements are very necessary, and it's very important that we invest in all of us having computing skills. So one of the most important areas is investing in talent, in computing skills for all the population, because the best way for all of us to be able to use technologies, approaching it, getting closer to it, so people with all ages, in all sectors, we need those computing skills so we can enjoy these moments and we can feel at ease and safe in the use or using technology, because I think that's what's most important. And that I want to thank you all for letting me be here and for allowing me to leave this exhibition, which is a good example of the very positive things that we can do with technology, with art in this case.